And I got another camera to talk about. I'm going to talk about the Mamiya C3. This was sort of Mamiya's answer to the Rolleiflex. It has a very similar design, but a few key design differences that I want to talk about. This camera was loaned to me by On Film Lab, a dream camera for me. This is something I've wanted to shoot with since I was about 18 years old, I guess, because a legend of photography and one of my heroes and somebody that I admire a lot, Diane Arbus, she used to shoot with this camera. You feel a lot of breath and space and air in her images, I think. So I was super excited to go out with it, and I wanted to test it, and I'll show a few examples. One of the things I found when taking portraits of people is that it's really difficult to take pictures of people that are the same height as you because you're looking down into a mirror. This is one of the coolest places in Frankfurt. It is a location where they have art installations, and it's a unique building that's actually on the side of one of the bridges here. And when you walked up to the top, this was your view. I really liked these pools of light, so I tried to take a portrait there. And another one of my friend Nastia, who was helping me on that day. She filmed me here taking a portrait of somebody who was downstairs. I did ask permission from this person, but they actually kept their eyes closed even after I'd taken the picture, and I didn't want to disturb them, so I just left them like that. Later, to test the camera some more, I took it out with me on a walk through the park with my dog.
You want to pose for a photograph? No? No? Okay.
I got to the end of the black and white roll and switched to color. I shot a few pictures in the park, including some portraits to see how the camera would handle skin tones. I was really surprised and happy. Even though this was an expired film, it's a Fujicolor 400. It did really well, but I also wanted to test it in different lighting conditions, so I shot a few pictures underground in the subway as I was taking the film to the lab, actually, to get it processed. Really happy with these as well, and I tested the close focus of the camera one more time just to, again, show that difference between it and the Rolleiflex, even though there are obviously lots of similarities. What you have in common with the Rolleiflex is this handle, which you use for advancing the film. There's actually film in the camera right now, so I won't show you, but you just turn it like you would on a Rolleiflex. In this case, you don't have to do it a half turn back to cock the shutter. So you've got a shutter button right here on the side, which is a little bit more convenient, I find, actually, because I normally hold the camera like this and my thumb ends up right on the shutter button, whereas for a Rolleiflex you have to release the shutter here in the front. On these cameras you also have to cock the shutter, though like I mentioned, it doesn't cock the shutter when you wind backwards. While advancing, you have to do it yourself. They have a Compure shutter, or leaf shutters, what we call them, I believe, in English, in my native language, which I don't know how to speak anymore because I've lived in Germany too long. What's really different from the Rolleiflex camera system is that you can change the lenses. This is a 55mm lens, which is wide angle, but you can shoot a 65mm or an 80mm. I think there's also a 135 and a 180. A lot of different lenses that you can get for this system. It's very, very rare that you can actually change the lenses out because, again, when you change the lens, you're changing two lenses. You're changing the one on top and the one on bottom. These come together. I can take it off. In order to show you, I can take it off. What you do is you turn this little wheel on the side to unlock. See if I can get it to go. And once it's in the unlock position, you have to push the little button on the side as well forward. And now you should be able to bring this little wire down. It's kind of difficult to do with one hand. Watch me struggle. Oh, I think I have to bring the focus back. Yeah, don't forget to drive the focus all the way in, because if you don't, there's a little bar here in the front that prevents you from being able to take the lens off. So you drive the focus all the way back. There we go. So now I'll try to show you up close. Now I can pull this down. It comes straight up like that, and you can take your lens off. And what's really cool is that inside, so that you don't ruin your film, when you switch to the unlock position, there's a curtain that goes up to not let any light through. And also on top, I don't know if you can see in there. I don't think you can. There's a, you can sort of see this little, looks black here, but it looks more reddish when you look through the viewfinder. And that's letting you know that you're still in the unlocked position. Another feature that it has that a Rolleiflex does not have is that you can focus very, very closely. So the farther the lens, when I'm doing this now, the lens is getting further away from the film plane. The farther it gets away, the closer your subject can be. And you can really do macro shots and close-up shots, even with a wide-angle lens like this 55mm lens. Normally on a twin lens reflex system, completely impossible. Like taking portraits of people or close-ups of people is not a fun experience, because you realize you've got to be about 3 feet or 1 meter away from them in order to get them in focus. And sometimes you want more. You just want to have a frame filled with a person's face or some detail. It does get a little bit tricky because when you focus that closely, you know, there's a difference between what this lens sees and what this lens sees, especially the closer your object gets. You know, if you get close to someone, even with your own eyes, and you like open your left eye, open your right eye, you can see the difference in what's called parallax between one location and another. And that's the same here. Inside the viewfinder, not sure if you'll be able to see it, but there's a few lines, and those help you just with your framing a little bit, so that if you're focused to kind of a normal close range distance, you can rely on the top line for where your head's going to be cut off of your subject, and the second line for extreme close focusing. This camera body and system is very, very heavy, but I wouldn't say that it's any heavier than a Rolleiflex. I got used to it pretty quick, having it on a camera strap and wearing it around town. But I have to say, I think I like it a bit more than the Rolleiflex system because of that ability to focus close up, and also just handling the camera. There's something about having it that feels a little more stable. It feels really, really well built. Whereas with the Rolleiflex, for example, I don't like that a lot of them on the side have a really large focusing knob, which also has a light meter thing on it. This has no light meter, but I just use my phone to light meter. And winding is super easy. Rewind, you don't have to rewind, but taking the film out, putting the film in is super easy. Everything about this camera, it just feels solid and like it's made to take out and take pictures with. I should also point out that the C3 is just one of a bunch of different models that Mamiya put out. And here you can see all the different ones that came out, what year they came out. Have fun, pause it, go through it, Google it, check them out. Lots of different kinds. I really recommend these. If you're like me and you've been thinking a lot about photographers like Vivian Maier or Diane Arbus, and that's a kind of a look that you want to explore or try, you've probably been thinking about getting a Rolleiflex, which I have been for a while. But honestly, testing this camera and having it out in the world made me think that this is one that I would prefer to have. Thanks again to On Film for letting me test it, and that's it for today. See ya.